Hello, it's Brad Laurie, or Blockchain Brad, and today I'm joined with Alex Mashinsky. He is well known in the business and in blockchain sphere. He is well known also for being the inventor of VOIP and now moving to MOIP, and we're going to find out more about that. Right now, big things are happening with Celsius Network. He is the CEO. Alex, thank you very much for this update, mate.
Thanks, Brad, and I think it's my third appearance, right?
I think it is, mate, and we've talked quite a lot, and there's a lot happening for you. So essentially your slogan is unbank yourself, all about trying to change the game in banking, and you know a lot about it. You're a huge proponent of really trying to be essentially the Robin Hood of banking without having that slogan. You want to change the game entirely. So mate, what's happening right now in terms of exchanges, everything you stand for? Literally, you've been busy this week.
Yeah, so you know this crypto revolution that we're living through, it was supposed to unchain us. It was supposed to allow us to really have new freedoms, bring power back to the people. But as I watch closely what's happening, and that's why it really started Celsius Network, it looks more and more like we're building the same old financial system that we already have.
Right.
And part of the reason why I decided to really stop everything else I was doing and just focus on creating Celsius was because no one was building something for the people, right? I mean, take example, all these exchanges and all the other wallets don't really pay anything back. They don't give you anything. They don't produce anything for you.
Well, Alex, let's talk about that a bit more, because not that many people know about the crypto efforts to essentially provide for a new solution to banking before you entered the marketplace. And what you're saying is that you weren't just paying attention to the traditional sector, but you really were aware of some of the problems inherent with the crypto efforts to really change the narrative of banking. So mate, talk us through that. That's quite interesting that you noticed that.
Well, look, if you read Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, it clearly states there again and again that this entire system is built to replace the financial institutions, which are toll collectors, which are just people who are siphoning all the profits from us, right? They make money from our money and they give it to their shareholders, right? The banks are exceptional at giving us nothing and taking all the profits they make from our money and giving it to their shareholders.
Right.
So if you believe in Satoshi, you believe in decentralization, you think the blockchain is a great thing, you, the viewer, you, the user, have to decide who you're going to trust in this new economy. Are you going to trust the same old people that they might have new names, but the game is the same? The game is for you to invest your money, but not reap any of the rewards, because the exchanges and some of the other guys make all the profit from your money. Now, most people don't understand how you can make money from Bitcoin or Ether or from Dash. And that's how we're showing it. In our wallet, we take all of our revenues, not profit, revenues, and give 80% of that back to the depositor.
Got it. So
yep.
So you're running a business, and I think I want to touch on revenue for a moment so we understand. Now, Celsius Network is a registered business. It's like any other, except that you're literally trying to give more people not just profit, but as you said, revenue. So can you talk us through how you do that and what's involved in the process so people can understand, if they're participants in your network, how it can benefit them?
Yeah, so let's take a few small examples. We have three types of coins in our wallet, right? We have the traditional crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. Then we have staking coins like Dash, for example. And then you have stable coins, which are coins that are attached or pegged to specific fiat. So Bitcoin is a great example, right? Most people think that, well, Bitcoin doesn't pay any dividend, doesn't pay any yield. It doesn't matter if I keep it on Binance or on Celsius or somewhere else, or cold storage wallet. Well, there's a big difference. When you keep your Bitcoin on an exchange, the exchange lends your Bitcoin out and makes money from the fact that your asset is fungible and is available to other participants, and they'll yield between 7 and 10% a year from your Bitcoin. So if your Bitcoin is worth $10,000, they'll make $1,000 a year from your Bitcoin just because it's sitting on an exchange.
Got it.
If you bought Dash from Binance, for example, you're not going to get paid any staking fees. You have to go create a node. You have to have at least $80,000 worth of Dash, and then it will yield 6 to 7% based on how good you are. Again, Binance does it, it just doesn't pay it to you, right? They
Right.
keep it
So,
all for themselves.
Alex, is it fair to say that some of these exchanges, they're centralized for a start, some of the ones that you're alluding to, if we're not talking about DEXs? Are you saying that the exchanges can function a bit like a bank, even though they're really designed to be an exchange?
Yeah, their job is to make as much profit for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not promising anything. I mean, when you sign up with this or that decentralized exchange, they're not saying, oh, we're going to act in your best interest. Oh, we're going to try to return as much as possible to you, right? Their job is to extract as much profit for themselves. Binance proudly announced they made $700 million last year, right? I mean, it's just crazy numbers. Who do you think they made it? They made it out of all of your viewers that are using exchanges.
Right.
So they didn't give you any of that, right? They just kept it all to themselves. So there's no difference between them and banks. I'm all for profit. I'm not non-profit, as you mentioned. We are also a for-profit company, and we're actually a profitable company. But the difference is that we focus on giving as much as possible to our depositors. All of our competitors are focused on giving as much as possible to themselves or to their shareholders. And until Celsius showed up, no one offered interest income. We invented this category. Everybody thought it was crazy that Celsius would give so much back to the users, and everybody thought that no one would give us any money.
Right.
You know,
Well, let's talk about that, because many would argue, even in the traditional sector, many of your colleagues, because you're very well known in that sector, you know, obviously not just for your tech knowledge, but you're an entrepreneur and a businessman. Now, many would say that your idea is idealistic initially when you presented that, you know, because it is so much about trying to give literally money back. So how do you reassess this? How do you show people that this can be done in a sustained way in a business model where you can give more than anyone's ever seen back to those consumers and users of the network, but still sustain enough to keep the operations of Celsius going?
Well, we've done it, right? We now have $240 million in deposits. So people gave us $240 million worth of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, all these 16 coins that we have. We are profitable. We're growing. We doubled our revenues, our assets in 1 month. So we went from 120 to $240 million in between May and June, right? So
that's great.
This just proves that most of the community understands what's good for them and what's not good for them, right? They understand that Celsius is acting in their best interest, and they take their coins from Coinbase.
Sorry, I seem to have lost you just for a moment there, Alex.
Yep.
So they take them from Coinbase, you're saying?
They take the coins from Coinbase or Binance and they move them to places that pay them yield. Now, not all places that promise yield are the same. You have to understand how companies make their money. For example, we work with over 100 institutions. We lend to these coins to hedge funds and institutions. Most of them are registered, accredited institutions. So we know, we also take collateral from them. I can tell you some of our competitors, they lend them to gamers or gamblers in China or people like that. So you have to decide, you have to do your homework and really understand when you lend something out or when you deposit your coin with someone, where are those coins going? And what are the chances that those coins will not come back?
And that's a really good point. I actually read a tweet recently about trusting certain parties, making sure you've done that due diligence. Can we talk about custody for a moment? Because you have one of the best setups, I would argue, for the kind of vertical you're focused on in terms of trust and security, and making sure that it's backed properly in traditional sectors. So can you talk us through how people can trust this essentially as a third party to operate and essentially stake their own assets and trust that you can protect them?
Sure. So if you're a small guy, you have your Trezor or Ledger, and you keep it in a safe place, and that's probably the best you can do. But if you're a big guy, you would pay a few $1,000s a month and go and use a company like BitGo, which is a custodian, which has $100 million insurance from Lloyd's, and you would take all your crypto and move all your coins there because they are insured, they have vaults, they have security, they have all this other stuff, the latest tech, and so on. most people can't afford that. Most people basically say, hey, you know, it's too much money for me. I'm not going to do it. So what Celsius done is it created all of the safety that BitGo has, right? With every coin that comes to Celsius through the app goes directly into BitGo. So you get the BitGo services for free, effectively. When your coins are not lent out, they're sitting at BitGo, it's called storage. And when they're lent out, there's collateral that's sitting at BitGo in a bank account that represents the coins that we've lent out. So we think it's the best setup. Again, it represents the best interest of our coin holders. And that's what we do every day. We wake up every day and we make sure that we do everything we can for the coin guys, because I'm a coin guy. And again, you want to replace the banking system, convince people to stop depositing coins with exchanges or banks or whoever, and have them act in their own best interest. That's basically the best advice I can give anybody.
Absolutely, mate. And you make a really good point when you're talking about the cold storage. Many of us around the world right now, we have a small number of coins in our cold storage. But what you're saying is that not only can you, be advantaged by the flux in this market, because often we see, a bull and a bear, all kinds of things can happen. But if people are banking with you, just by doing that, they're going to get a return most likely, because there is a system of, essentially of interest. So it's making means of just simply owning, by having coins and working through you, they can be advantaged just from the ownership of them, which is one step beyond just simply having them on an exchange or having them in their Trezor, as you said, or in their ledger, in their Nano.
That's right. And look, it's important that people understand that when we lend out, sometimes we lend out these coins to the exchange that you took them off from, because when exchanges need more coins to do market making, or to basically enable their trading, they need to borrow them from someone.
Right.
And we stand there with our big community and we say, look, you want these coins, you're going to have to pay 10%. And that's how we pay 8% to the community, right? We have to earn more than that from the same people that you're holding your coins right now with. Sorry.
So
the more coins we remove from exchanges, the higher the rate we can actually charge. There's no reason why we shouldn't charge 15% a year or 20% a year. So the more people join Celsius, the more we can charge for the Bitcoin and the Ether and the Litecoin and so on.
Right. So Alex, how do you convince the lay speculator? Because right now there's a lot of people in the marketplace who are playing the trade game, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how do you convince them to take more of a long position? Obviously, when it comes to banking, that's what needs to happen, and trust the value of the assets they've purchased as digital assets rather than play the short-term game.
So look, we're not going to change the behavior of this or that person. The Celsius community is a hodler community. It's not necessarily a speculator community. Most of but by the way, we publish all this. If you download the app and you go to our community page, you can see all the stats about how many people are using us, what's on deposit, what's the average deposit, and so on. And you'll see that the average person, there's 37,000 people that are now on the platform. There's about 80,000 that downloaded the app and are playing with it. And you will see that on average, they made 9 deposits with us. What does that mean? It means that most of the people in our community, our average depositor has $12,000 with Celsius, right? So they took some of the coins that on one exchange, and they took another exchange, and they moved some of the coins that on the Trezor and so on, because they want to earn more return on all their coins. So we are not really a platform, even though we don't charge penalties or anything for withdrawals. You can withdraw the same day that you deposit. But we really designed for the hodler and not so much for the speculator.
Well, it's pretty generous of you, though, not to charge for those who just want to use it for a short period of time. I think that's quite remarkable, given that we haven't seen that from the traditional sector of banking. But can you talk us through the percentages as well?
None of our competitors offers that also. All of our competitors basically ask you to lock up for 6 months or whatever. And again, some of these companies have 10 employees. So who knows if they'll even be in business in 6 months. So
yeah, and Alex, I think that's really generous of you, I think, because it gives them trust because you haven't locked them up. So it is commendable, because that would be tough to do initially, to set up as a business model, to be able to allow these people to have fluidly utilize your platform. But if we think of it,
it's not tough when you're acting in the best interest of your customers, right? So as long as you're thinking what's in the best interest, what would I want as a user, and you delivering that to your community, then it's not hard at all. I mean, part of what I'm trying to say here is that it's like plucking a chicken one feather at a time, 10, 20 years later, all these things that the banks force us to do, we think that that's the norm. That's not the norm. The norm is it's your money. You should have access to it 24/7. Right?
Exactly.
So
and that's why
the norm.
And that's why we do these interviews, Alex. That's why the Crypto Crow does them and others, because we do them for free, because you genuinely do want to change this for the everyday person. It's not just the crypto community either. So let's talk about that for a second in terms of returns, those percentages that you can provide, just ballpark in interest. And also, how are we going to get you known by people outside of crypto? Because that's the real target market, I would imagine.
Yes. So look, first, the returns we have in our wallet change every week, because whatever we earn changes every week. So we give 80% out, we pay out 80%. So for example, this week, Bitcoin is at 6.1%. If you want to get BTC on your BTC, and it's about 8.25% if you want to be paid in CEL tokens. So as of last week, we started giving people the option, not the obligation, to get paid either or. About a quarter of our community already decided to get paid in CEL token, for example, which increases the yield. You earn 25% more. And during that period of just 1 week, the CEL token appreciated over 40%. So if you were earning in CEL, and because the CEL token jumped so much, you actually didn't make 8.25%. It was closer to like 14%. Of the actual return, annualized return. So again, we don't provide financial advice. Everybody has to make their own decisions, and you can switch it off and on every week as you decide. If you want to earn some CEL, you want to earn some Bitcoin, you can decide every week how you want to handle it. Right. We just want to give people an option. Obviously, if people use the CEL token, it enables the community and the utility inside our organization. And all of that makes us so much more powerful and capable of continuing to deliver the services that we provide already.
Absolutely. So, and what's interesting too is that you're moving to a more global position all the time, because right now, as I was saying before, is that the crypto sphere is relatively small percentage-wise of the entire globe, but you would be trying to focus, I imagine, in all the regions of the world perhaps that don't know about you and what you can actually do for them, especially in developing regions.
Right. So currently, these 37,000 users I was talking about are from 150 countries. So we have global coverage. It's really amazing. Our app is only in English, and you got huge amount of demand from China, from Japan, from developing countries, and so on. So one of the most interesting part, we talked about these 3 buckets of coins that we have, and the third bucket are stable coins. So the third bucket is really designed for people that don't want to take any risk, right? If they're worried about Bitcoin going up or down, they don't know what's a good staking coin, or don't understand what staking is all about, and they can take the local currency, they can convert it into stable coins that are denominated either in dollars or euros or pound. Soon we're going to have also coins denominated in gold or silver. And they can basically invest their capital in that. So it's the same as if they bought gold. It's the same as if they held dollars, and still yield. Like right now, we're paying 8.1% on dollar denominated coins. So you can buy a TUSD or a USDC coin issued by Goldman Sachs or some other institution. Right, Circle is backed by Goldman Sachs.
So it gives them options if they're risk averse to divert to just have that from that suite of options you provide, and that's all available on the Celsius network. If you don't have that, I'll make sure that's in the description below, Alex. But it's quite interesting though that you're catering for the different types of investors as well.
Right. So countries. So the point is that, for example, if you're in Argentina, or you're in Turkey, or you're in Venezuela, and your local currency is losing tremendous amount of value, now you can very quickly grab your local currency, convert it into stable coin, eliminate all that risk, and yield 8.1%, right? Or in CEL token, you'll yield 10.25%. So this is exactly what we promised to do: provide amazing yields that banks just don't want to give you. I mean, you're based in Australia, right? I mean, there was a great article written. I think it's Founder Magazine. Your viewers can look it up
Yeah.
online. That took all the everything I'm talking about and went and actually looked at the financial statements of every major Australian bank.
Yes.
And said, yes,
Crazy.
you see, TNZ is actually yielding 19% for themselves. Why are they paying us less than 1%?
Yeah,
Why
it's
they're
crazy.
not? So everything I'm saying can be verified and was verified by third parties. And I'm not saying anything that is a secret. It's all public information. Just people, again, don't demand this kind of stuff from their banks. And
Right.
even if you did, if you walked into a bank branch and said, I want to be paid 8%, they would laugh at you and ask security to rush you out of the branch. So the fact that we can pay so much out just tells you what is the value of your money.
Absolutely. And Alex, I wanted to just touch on that for a moment, because you were talking about banks and branches. Now, right now, almost everyone in the world or in the developed world has access to a bank. Many actually don't have them in different regions. You're talking about an app that could change the game for many people in the sense of banking access alone. That's exciting, because people can now try and interact with you. You're talking also about Venezuela. That's really relevant. So in that context, the big question is, why aren't more people making the switch? Why isn't this spreading more rapidly? Because this literally can provide people with financial freedom. This can literally change their financial outcomes,
Yes.
especially in these regions where the dollar literally matters when they don't make a lot of money.
So look, people, it is a leapfrog for most people, right? Going from a physical note to a virtual bank account to something that is on an app managed by somebody in a different country, and so on and so on. So I think it's really important that we educate people on this. This is what you're doing. You've dedicated a lot of time to make sure that people understand this. But it takes time for people to trust you, right? It takes time for people to do the research, talk to other friends, see that, for example, put some few coins in and make sure that they actually get paid, withdraw them a few times, make sure that the service is reliable, and trust their fortunes to somebody that they don't know.
Right.
So I think part of this is really all of us delivering on the promise continuously, because that's how you build trust, right? You build it over time.
Sure.
And that's what Celsius Network is dedicated to doing. That's what our focus is. And that's why we're spending all this time with, podcasts and AMAs to make sure that everybody gets access to the information.
And Alex, we really appreciate it, mate, because you've been around this space for some time now, and you know about the bullshit, the blockchain bullshit, and also the real things that are going on. You've seen it all. Is it something that is of concern just inside the space? Because there's no question that the minority of projects, even today, are those that are literally trying to build out utility, that are literally trying to build out use case. There's still a plethora of projects that are just built on bullshit and nothing. So are you finding that in another challenge as well, is trying to just showcase the depth of your utility?
Yeah, I think you're right. Most of the projects that raised money in ICOs have not delivered a working product. They have not delivered the utility they promised to their community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a shame, because obviously some of these failed for good reasons, but some of them fail for bad reasons. And Celsius, as you've seen, we've taken our time to list, because we wanted to make sure we delivered the utility. We proved what we were doing. We built the community before we listed. We didn't want to just dump the coins and enable people to, grab earnings, a day after they list, a day after they did the ICO.
The 100x club.
Exactly. And look, the people that got rich are the people that got in early. Most of them were VCs and investor, well-connected investors. And here, Celsius did something very different. First, we enabled the entire community to access at the same price, based on when you get in. And we did not give any allocation. We don't have we don't have Fambushi or Pantera or any of these other investors that usually get 50, 60, 70% discount. So the people that bought into our ICO got the same front seat that everybody else have. And today, the CEL token, yesterday, it was up 40%. 2 days ago, yesterday was up 27%. So the community, the fact that the community is supporting the CEL token shows you how much we've built, and that the vote of confidence is positive on everything that we're
Absolutely, mate, because to achieve that in those numbers in this climate is truly remarkable, because even now many people are still speculating on that short-term shill or that short-term gain, and you're literally building a community of not just believers but those who can use this as a proper decentralized bank. So it is truly amazing, I think, that if you're doing this in 2019 when we're still so early in this space. So let's talk about some of the projections on your roadmap, Alex, because obviously there's a huge amount of potential, and even in the volatility context as well. Do you see, have you got a model, a token economic model that addresses the kind of growth that you could expect as you build out? It's a tough question because we don't want to move in the question of security, but I'm talking just on utility and usership and adoption.
Well, so the plan from the beginning was to do 100 million users. Obviously, we're not even close to that. And we're close to about 100,000 right now. So we have to go basically 1,000x from here to reach our goal. But I'm a big believer. I mean, when I started Voice of IP, people were laughing at me. Everybody had the dial-up modem, and they were like, how exactly is this going to work on my dial-up modem, But now, obviously, we're using VoIP right now, and it's perfect, and you're on the other side of the planet.
Amazing.
So the same thing with financial services. Like you said in the beginning, VoIP to MOIP, from Voice of IP to Money over IP. And there's no reason why financial services cannot be provided in a perfect way, just like we're talking right now, where somebody in Zimbabwe or somebody in New Zealand or somebody in Japan can earn high yield on their money without them having to go to a local branch or interacting with a local provider.
It makes a lot of sense. It really does.
And it's possible. Look, part of it is education, part of it is adoption, part of it the maturation of just the industry, right? And us scaling up, we haven't really done much advertising or marketing. We're going to start doing that now, and you're going to start see a huge acceleration in the adoption of these services.
Well, I really wanted to talk to you about that, because that's something you've talked about with Crypto Crow, and you've also talked about it in your Twitter and other different social media, specifically on the scaling plan. Now, that is exciting to hear that you've got some strategies. The reason I ask you, Alex, is because you know a lot of very powerful people, and I would imagine that you really need to break those barriers in the crypto domain into that traditional sector and into the mainstream. So give us a bit of a hint, Alex, in what you're actually planning to do, so that mums and dads can come to know Celsius at the dinner table. They've seen it on TV, for example, or they've heard it on the radio. How are we going to literally get people to be educated beyond people like me?
So a lot of it is social, right? A lot of it is getting a critical mass of users that talk to their friends and family and attest to the fact that they use the service and everything worked as advertised, right? So, and I think ads are great and TV ads are even better, but you want to hear it from your friends, you want to hear it from your colleagues, and then even then you have the early adopters. I think we're still in the early adopters phase, right? People like you and me are enthusiastic about it and talking about it all day long,
right?
But most of the people out there are sitting on the sidelines and wanting to see. They want to see if we're still smiling and still cheering 6 months from now, a year from now, and so on. And then they join in, right? They want to make sure that this thing really performs as we talked about.
Right.
So I'm not sure we can rush that, right? I mean, it takes time, and it takes, look, the banks are 700 years old, right? They have 700 years of build that reputation where it's rock solid. I'm just going to deposit my money there and it's always going to be there. And even though they're not paying you anything back, you are effectively sacrificing the safety for any return, right? So you're depositing money in the bank, and just because it's safe, in return, you're not going to earn anything. Right. So Celsius is basically saying, no, it can be safe and yielding at the same time.
Sure.
So if you don't believe me, go check out bitgo.com. We also use Prime Trust, talk to them. And we use trusted custodians that are regulated by the United States authorities. They've been audited and vetted, and they're probably safer than your financial institution, whatever country you're in today.
And I think you make a big
people,
point. The regulations built into Celsius Network, you're backed by regulated entities that are used not just by you, but other banking parties as well that are not in the non-blockchain sector. So you're backed by the real deal, and you're trying to be something that really changes the game without trying to be part of the, I guess, the unregulated and speculative sort of situation that we see in other parts of particularly in regions like China, for example, right now. It's a huge issue with unregulated marketplaces, with unregulated startups that don't deliver. And I mention those regions because there's a huge influx in projects that haven't delivered from those regions. So I think you really are changing the game by making sure from the outset that you are regulated, Alex.
Yeah, that's right. And look, everywhere we operate, we follow the local laws and local rules, because just the fact that we're in the US or in Europe doesn't mean that we're legally can provide service in Australia. I can tell you some of our competitors are doing it illegally. They don't have any licenses. And again, you have to be careful. You have to really do your homework and make sure that you, not just they tell you, oh yeah, we have licenses. Ask them to show you the licenses. If they can't show them to you, that means they don't have them. So some of our competitors are going out there and advertising stuff that they can't really stand behind. And all that's going to happen is they're going to be caught by the regulators and they're going to be shut down. And when they shut down, your coins are not going to be returned.
Absolutely.
Right? If your coins are not returned, you're going to bear the losses. So we just think that there's different ways of operating. Again, that's why I'm always on TV. I'm on these AMAs because I'm the face of the company. And I can assure you that everything we provide is 100% following the regulation, not just in my country, but also in your country.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, it's interesting you said that you're always doing the AMAs. Do you feel like with this whole model that we see with crypto-based and tokenized startups that you need to have that charismatic leader? I mean, the reality is you have it. Many of the content creators love talking to you. You're really open. You have a huge following with regard to support. And many of us do those things for free because you have this desire to fulfill the Satoshian vision. So in that respect, do you think that there needs to be someone at the top lead this, or is there a plan to eventually step back and let it organically just manifest because of the products that you're building?
No, look, I think it's very important to have a direct connection, to talk directly to users, because it's not just about what I'm saying to them. A lot of it is also the feedback that I get. I meet people all over the world. I'm in Berlin right now, Germany, speaking here at the NOAA conference in a few hours. And I can tell you, people walk over to me and thank me for what we're doing. And they say, oh, can you add this feature? Or can you change that? And that's what drives Celsius. I mean, it's the customer feedback that tells us what we need to do next. It's not like I sit in some dark room and the light bulbs go out and suddenly I invent the world and make it a better place. The people that make Celsius as good as it is are all the users that give us feedback every day. They're the users that tell their friends, that go out and educate their parents, their colleagues, and that's what's going to make it happen.
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen because some big bank is going to start saying, oh, we can do this now as well,
Sure.
So you really need to, like I said, each one of us wakes up in the morning, we have our money, we have to decide who we're giving our money to. Are we giving it to people that act in our best interest, that try to make the community a better place, or are we giving it to people who take advantage of us? And it's not easy. If it was easy to know who's who, then we would all be rich and famous. But unfortunately, it's not easy to figure out who's really acting in your best interest.
Well, what's exciting though, Alex, is that you're putting forth an agenda and an effort to change the status quo. And that's something that resonates with so many people, not just in this generation of tweens, of those who want to literally engage in a different narrative, especially when we see things like Cambridge Analytica with all of the drama of centralized powers and data. You really are trying to do something that so many people support, because fundamentally for all of us to have the freedom to live the lives we want, we need access to funds. We need autonomous ways to do it. And you're going to go one step further and really incentivize decentralized banking so that people can make money out of having more control of their own money. So it's quite exciting that this is happening. It's novel. I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more on competitors in this space as well. Are there any that you deem as ones that are doing something similar to you, or challenging you as a front runner?
Well, we as I mentioned before, we've done over 2 billion in loans. We have 240 million on deposit. We have, like I said, the community is over 100,000 on Twitter, on Telegram, and so on. The people that are on our mailing list. So we have more users, more in deposit, more in loans, than all the other guys put together. There isn't anyone who's even close.
It's quite substantial.
And we're growing faster because we're giving more. Just to put things in perspective, so people are excited about Binance having their coin called BNB, and how they take 20% of their profit and they give it back to their Binance holders. We give 80% of the revenues. They give 20% of the profits. 80%, just to put things in perspective. So if you buy a sandwich and it costs $10, we give $8 back to the community because we sold the sandwich for $10. Binance would take the profit. So the profit on a sandwich, let's say, will be $1, and they give 20 cents of that to the community. So that's the difference, $8 or 20 cents.
It's quite substantial.
We give so much back that when people look at their wallet, they think it's not real, and they try to withdraw it just to make sure that they can actually withdraw it. And then they withdraw it, and then they deposit it again.
Right.
And they add more deposits and so on. So again, the reason we do that is because we can be profitable giving you 80% of the revenues. We're profitable today, giving you 80% of the revenues.
And that's quite
how much money you're leaving on the table.
Right. And Alex,
leaving your money with other people.
And so you can be profitable with just having 20% of that revenue and giving out 80%. That in itself is a huge achievement. How on earth do you scale your own company, in terms of the resources you need?
Well, so obviously, if we're profitable already and we're getting 2 or 3 million in deposits every day, we will be even more profitable as we scale. So we're adding employees, we adding developers, we're adding marketing, right? We're scaling the company from all sides. And again, we all of that is fully transparent. You can see all that data both on our website and inside our app. And before the end of the year, you'll be able to see all of that on a blockchain. So you'll be able to audit us. You can audit us completely. How much did we get in deposit? How many loans did we issue? How much did we collect in interest? Did we pay 80% to the community? Right? All that will be audited, not just by our users, but by anyone who has access to a public blockchain.
Right.
So that is for us the perfect financial institution. Try to go to your bank and tell them, here's my deposit. I want to see exactly where it goes. I want to see how much you make on that. I want to see how much of it you're giving back to my community. They'll laugh at you.
They will.
Right? So we think we want to change what a financial institution looks like. It's not just, right? So we're taking Satoshi's dream and we putting it on turbo, right? Now it's actually going to function as a self-fulfilling prophecy for all of us. I'm not doing it for me. Like, as you know, I don't need to work. Right?
No, you don't.
And the only reason I can say bad things about banks every day is because I don't need a job. Right. I don't need to work for them or Wall Street or anybody else. So I think the opportunity is here, and we are showing the way, and we win or somebody else wins. That's less important. What's important is that we are trailblazing the path, and we showing humanity there's a different way of transacting. You can do well and do good at the same time.
Yes, and what's interesting,
be evil.
And what's interesting too, also, Alex, is that not only can you flip this on its head, but you can actually give more back. And that's the biggest point that you make, is that banking can be benevolent. It can also be profitable. It can be a business, but you can give more. And that's the thing I think a lot of people in the world have known for millennia, actually, with the banking concept, is many people have been aware of all of the profiteering from the top down. That's how banks get so immensely wealthy.
How much does one person need? The top 30 richest people in the world have half of the wealth of the entire planet. I mean, it's just crazy. So
it really
my mother taught me that giving is receiving, and I can tell you that I'm trying to give back as much as I can every day, and I can't wait to wake up in the morning and give even more, because there's just when you're on your deathbed, Are you going to be proud of all the stuff you took, all the stuff you've given?
Exactly.
And that's what you have to ask yourself every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Alex, you're in a position, like you said, where, you know, you've done the hard yards, you've come from nothing, built your company literally from the ground up and became extremely wealthy from a financial standpoint. But now you're enriching people in other means, you know, enabling them with, giving them tools, social and financial tools combined to change the game for themselves. And you're literally also doing that in your own time. You don't have to. So, mate, normally I don't talk to people in this context, but it's really nice actually to see a good guy at the top as a CEO doing something they simply don't have to do, because of all the CEOs I talk to, you're the most overt when it comes to truly embodying the idea of giving is receiving. I really mean that.
Well, I'm an immigrant, you know, like I said, I know the pain that most of the people go through just maintaining the daily lives, right? I mean, I went through that several times, you know, so it's not that I was born into luxury and went to the best schools, and I'm talking about it from afar. You know, I know exactly the experience of struggling for no reason. You're struggling because your financial institutions, your advisors, all the people that's supposed to help you out there don't help you. They help themselves. And again, there's no reason for that. You can do well and do good.
Absolutely.
I have to run. So
let's
wrap it up.
It's been an absolute privilege talking to you. You know that, and I appreciate your time. I know you've got to go and do the conference. Thank you again for trying to do something for the people, mate. I wish you all the very best. I hope we can catch up again. For those who'd like to know more, make sure you do check out all the descriptions below. Make sure you check out all the different social channels that Celsius Network do have. Alex, thanks again for leading this out. You are encouraging people to unbank themselves, really empower them to reframe how they think of banking and to engage in a new narrative, and that is through Celsius Network. So thanks again for your time. Hopefully, mate, we can catch up again to see how your products are evolving, how your narrative is evolving into a more evidence utility globally. Keep going, mate. Don't give up.
Great job, Brad, and you're doing God's work, so power to you.
Thanks, mate. Take care.